In the next edition of It's About Money, we'll be talking with Joanne Jaworski about releasing energy blocks towards health and success. Be sure to tune in. And welcome to another edition of It's About Money. I'm Nannette Nocon, and thank you for joining us. Our guest today is Joanne Jaworski. She is a success coach and energy educator. So we're here to talk about releasing energy blocks to reach success and health. Thank you for being here, Joanne.
Thank you for inviting me, Nannette.
So tell me, what exactly is a success coach and energy educator?
Well, a lot of people don't realize that symptoms of ailments or aches and discomforts in your body or blocks to success where you want to go all have their start energetically. So if you're focusing on the symptoms and not really going for where the source of the problem is, you can have that loop for a long time. So what I do is a combination of an acupressure tapping on your body, along with releasing emotions and beliefs through a verbal coaching that I do. And that combination starts to release that from your energy so that those symptoms can start to ease out. So you're going for more of the core than you are the symptoms, the end result.
I see, because you can be in a loop pattern there if the symptoms are the ones being treated as opposed to the root cause of it.
And most of the time when we're approaching things, we're kind of looking at how is this manifesting? What's the symptom that you're experiencing? But if you go to the energetic base of it, and if everything starts in energy, which it does, then it makes more sense to try to figure out what started this pattern in the first place. Where did it begin? What created that symptom in the first place?
I see. How interesting. Now, what got you interested in, what is your background?
What got me interested was actually my own bout with allergies. I developed, and I didn't realize it was related at the time because I wasn't educated in the energy the way I am now. I developed an asthma-like feeling after my dad passed away, not knowing the two were connected. But in Chinese medicine, a lot of times the lung area can be related to grief and sadness. And so I went to an allergist because I wasn't really wheezing, so it wasn't obvious that it was like an asthmatic kind of situation, but I was very tight. And I came out of the blue. Why now? Why? And that was my thought pattern. Why now? What's going on? So I went to an allergist, and he had said to me, you know, you have these allergies and you need shots for 4 or 5 years, once a week. And my first thought was, oh, no, this is time consuming. I just didn't want to do that. And something said to me, pursue other avenues, which I did, and I went to an acupuncturist, and that started releasing the energy. Years later now, I realized the connection between my dad's passing and that grief and sadness that was holding in my lungs. So that's really what kind of precipitated my learning.
I see. Oh, that's interesting. So you just, instead of settling with the cure, so to speak, by the traditional
Right. It just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
It just didn't feel right to me.
Oh, that's great. And then how did you learn to become an energy educator?
Well, I started with a naturopathic doctor. I took an herbalist class and learned a little bit about the herbs, and then I took a Reiki 1 class. And then my mother and my sweetheart got sick, severely sick, around the same time. And as a process of that, we joined an energy group. One thing led to another. I met a priest, actually, who introduced me to some of this energy work. He's a fabulous energy worker. And I saw him do a technique called rapid eye and energy meridian tapping. And I saw the change. I saw the physical change of what's possible when you start releasing the energy blocks. And I was just hooked for some reason. You know, everybody kind of has their thing that turns them and says, oh, my goodness, this is wonderful. And that's what happened for me. So I ended up learning the course, studying, and I started practicing on the Reiki group that I was part of. And I kept seeing people change. I kept seeing ailments ease. I kept seeing pain go down. I kept seeing things that were shifting. And it was, oh my, this stuff really works. This stuff really works. So I just started learning more and developing more. And
it's one of those things that people don't see, actually, is energy, right?
And it kind of flips people out. I mean, when it's like, you must have done something to my mind. You must have, it's the way you talk. It's they find all these other reasons of why it might be working, because we're not trained in this culture to rely on energy methods, or it's coming more and more, but that's not really the basis of what our healthcare or removing blocks in your life is about. So when it happens, it kind of stuns people.
Sure. So you must encounter throughout, your practice that there are people who are skeptics who don't really think, what are you talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, that's energetic as well. And you can release some of those blocks. I've had many skeptical people that have had things shift and say to me, I can't believe what just happened. What did you do? Sometimes fears are they are the blocks. The tapping that I do on the body in combination with verbal coaching is trying to get to the beliefs and the emotions that hold things in place. Everybody thinks it's a mind thing. You got to say positive affirmations. You have to convince yourself that XYZ is true, and if you keep doing it long enough, it'll happen. And sometimes it does happen. But if you're holding a block in your energy and it's holding like this, and you're trying to say positive affirmations or get from point A to point B without releasing that energy, it can be very difficult. And so when it happens quickly, people are startled, they're stunned. That's not what we know.
And then if you overlay positive thinking with that, it could really become very, very powerful.
Exactly.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's really terrific. Now, it is economically sound to be healthy. And that's the reason why I asked you to be here, is just the economics of it all. Because sometimes if we go through a lot of treatments that cost us money, it hurts the pocketbook and the cash flow. So what are the best ways to promote good health, to maintain that, good economic status alongside of good health?
Well, I would never tell someone not to go the traditional route. And that's a decision they need to make with their doctor and make sure that they're in a safe place to do that, because drugs and surgery and therapies certainly have their place. This goes more for the root cause, though, and you can do it in conjunction with those other things, which is the beauty of it, because it doesn't have to be an either or. I work with people that are going to a traditional therapist, and I want to make it very clear, I am not a licensed healthcare provider. I don't have a licensing in anything healthcare related. I am an energy worker, and what I'm doing is helping your body to go through the process to heal itself. I'm not doing any healing. I don't claim to treat, diagnose, or cure. I'm just facilitating your body to help itself. And once those energy blocks are moved, that can happen. So, you may suffer with an ailment. And in fact, I'll give you some examples. I've had people that were told they had bone on bone, and the diagnosis is absolutely that you need a knee replacement. Some people did not end up having that surgery, because the energy, once it starts flowing, let me explain it this way. If you hold your fist for an hour, holding it, squeezing it like this, it's going to hurt, because you're not meant to do that. That's not the way your body's meant to work. It's meant to function. It's meant to move. It's meant to flow. So suppose you're doing that after some upset, some ailment, some accident, some trauma that happened. And unconsciously, how many people hold their shoulders up like this all the time? They don't even notice it.
I do that.
Pull your shoulders down. If you're doing this on a body energy level, it's going to have to reroute. It's going to start causing a symptom, just like this would if you hold it for an hour. It's going to cause a symptom, because you're not meant to do that. So if you're doing that on a whole body energy level, you're holding like this and not even knowing it. The stress, everything is stress related, or a lot of things are stress related. That's because your energy is holding like this. So if you can start to do this on an energetic level with the tapping and the verbal coaching, your body can relax and start to heal itself. Because now the flow, instead of being kind of cockeyed, is now connected and it's moving.
It's like electricity. It can't flow when there's a block there.
You don't want the kinks.
Right. So you help facilitate so that the person can understand what the possible sources are, and then tap it. Yeah. And
oftentimes it's related to things you have no idea. I've worked with people that have released things from the time they were 2 or 3 years old. The thing is, and this is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about tapping. And what I'm doing is I'm stimulating the energy meridians that run from your head to your feet. They're subtle energy channels, and they connect that energy connects to your organs. And when that gets interrupted, it causes a sizzle. Something happens, and it's to your energy. It interrupts it. It has to flow in a different way. It's not flowing the way it's meant to. So this tapping starts to stimulate the pathways. But the verbal coaching is what really starts to connect your energy, because as I'm tapping with people and coaching them through the process, a lot of times memories will come back of saying, I didn't know that was related. Oh my gosh, I haven't thought about that in years. And it can be the thing that has caused the zzz in your energy.
I see, and that's the reason for that kink that happens. But then you don't naturally release it if you don't know.
Right.
If you don't know, you don't know. So you need somebody to help you identify that.
And a lot of people can help themselves by tapping on themselves. But when you get stuck, or it's not moving fast enough, or you still have the ache or pain, something is still not working, that's when you call someone like me. That's when you need to have a professional work with you, because I'm not emotionally attached to your issues like you are. I can hear it clearer. I can recognize it faster, because that's what I'm trained to do.
Sure. And if you don't have those blocks and you're feeling healthy, then it's easier to do your work. It's easier to do the things that you normally do. So then financially, it doesn't get in the way. What your symptoms don't get in the way. And if you remove the symptoms by getting to the root of the problem.
I've done some lunch and learn and health fairs for different corporations around the area. And one of the lunch and learns I did was, it wasn't a lunch and learn, excuse me, it was a health fair. And at the end of where I was, they had the nurses station set up to do your bone density and blood pressure and all the rest. And there was a gentleman that sat down in my chair, and I said, I'm really demoing on aches or discomfort physically right now so that people can feel the shift. Because if I do something mental or success-oriented and I'm doing a demo, they might not feel a shift on the spot.
Sure.
So I was looking for people that were having some physical discomfort, stress or tension or tightness or aches or whatever. And he didn't, but I talked to him a little bit. He went through the line, got his blood pressure checked, and came back through, and he said, they tell me I'm borderline blood pressure. I mean, you could see the physical change in his face. He was nervous now. And I said, I can work with that. Let's do some tapping, and you go back through the line. And his blood pressure dropped 10 points.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, it just happens that way. You're releasing the energy. You're doing this.
Sure. And you help facilitate that release.
Absolutely.
To make it a little easier. So that's great. We're going to take a quick break. We're talking with Joanne Jaworski, who is a success coach and energy educator. We're talking about ways to release the energy blocks for good health and success. Stay with us.
Jenny dear! Don't forget my dress for the fashion show. We want to look my best now.
Jenny, we started our book report. Here's the cover.
Yeah, now what we need is a beginning,
a middle,
and an end.
Jenny dear!
Hi, honey.
Are you feeling blue? What's wrong with being blue?
Well, where should I start?
If you're a teen dealing with stress, there's help. Visit the Will Rogers Institute website for a free booklet about teen stress and how you can de-stress your life.
Right.
Cancer is a big idea for a small child.
She dreams of being a figure skater. We're trying to figure out what to do next.
Each school day, 2 classrooms of children are diagnosed with cancer.
The doctor said there's hope.
I'll be brave, Mommy.
If I could just take her place.
It's okay, Daddy.
Only research cures childhood cancer. Give today. You can help fund this life-saving research to conquer childhood cancer. Visit curesearch.org today.
Welcome back. I'm Nannette Nocon, and it's about money. In this session, we're talking with Joanne Jaworski, who is a success coach and energy educator. We're talking about releasing the blocks of energy for good health and success. Now, Joanne, we were talking earlier about the process of tapping and releasing tension and energy. And one of the questions I had was, what kind of success you've seen. And you're sharing me a note here. I'm going to read, actually, from someone that you've tapped. And she says, thank you for the EFT session yesterday. You personally did more for me in 1 hour than several psychotherapy sessions I've recently attended. The tapping is something I will earnestly try, and time will tell. So this morning, after vigorously tapping, I felt somewhat numb. Numb is good right now. I'm told you have a write-up, and that's great because you've had a lot of articles written. So this is phenomenal. What kind of other success have you experienced?
Well, I had mentioned the bone-on-bone. I have worked with arthritis. I've worked with depression. I've worked with allergies successfely. I mean, let me see. I wrote down a couple of things in case grief. What was somewhat of what she was experiencing. Right. I've worked with backaches. I've worked with all kinds of aches and pains. I've lowered blood pressure. I have not lowered blood pressure. Doing the energy work has allowed the body to do those things. It's not me that's doing it. It's just facilitating the energy so your body can do it itself. That's great.
Now, we can't mention specific companies, but you've been invited by many firms in the community to come in and be part of health fair. And would one of the motivations for that to reduce the number of sick time that people take, which affects business?
I think probably, honestly, it's kind of been the other way around. I have contacted them because you don't know what you don't know.
I got it. Okay.
And so one of the things I wanted to do was to educate people, to let them know that there are options. If you choose not to use that, that's obviously your prerogative. But if you know there's something you can do in addition to some of the other things that are treating your symptoms, maybe not totally being able to have you release them, you can do this in conjunction. And I wanted people to understand that. I wanted people to know that. That's why I call myself an energy educator, because I really do want the public to know there are options. But most people don't know about it. I mean, when we started talking about it, I don't think you had heard about it. Most people haven't.
Right. So then you contact the companies and you have a part of a lunch and learn or health fair or something like that. What has been the response of the companies that have invited you after you've told them about what you do?
Well, it's kind of like a yes, no. Yeah, we see what you do. Well, we're not sure about this. I mean, when I am doing the work that I do, as well as other energy workers, sometimes you're shifting a paradigm. We're not familiar with that in this culture. So if you're trying to change a whole way of thinking, it's kind of like, I saw what you did, but kind of feeling. So we want to kind of use this, but we're not sure how. There's a couple of events that are coming up. There's an electrical union health fair that's coming up in September that I'm doing, that I was invited to. There's a Rochester Wellfest, that's coming up that I've been invited to attend. So initially I did contact the companies, but now I am getting more invitations because people want to know there are alternatives.
Sure, they're being open to doing that. So now this is an interesting, because you were interested in this, but now this has become your business.
Yes.
So I always ask people, how do they get in business? What do they do to market themselves? That kind of thing. How have you found, the business is something that helps you become well, and you've seen people become better. Tell me about the business side of what you do.
Well, I didn't set out to do a business with this, honestly, but I saw what fantastic results you can get and how helpful it can be, and the wellness that people were getting. And not only that, this is about wellness and also business blocks, and I have worked with those as well. But I was in sales for 15 years. So cold calling on companies to let them know what I do is not something that's foreign to me. So that transition for me was very easy. I've also worked with golf pros to work on sports performance. I've worked with any kind of ache or ailment. I mean, certainly not across the board, but a variety of ache or ailments. And I've worked with people to get over their fear of cold calling. I've worked with, in this economy, if you have a block that says the economy is terrible, I'll never be able to sell this house, or the economy is terrible, I can't do X, Y, Z, that's a belief in a block. And that's holding in your energy, and you can release that. It's hard to explain without necessarily seeing how the process works, but I've worked with success people as well. So for me, the transition was very easy because I was in sales for a long time.
So, if you think about the practical side of it, if someone had a lot of energy blocks in their lives, they tend to encounter more hurdles than someone who has a nice flow of energy when things appear to go smoothly, but it's really their state of being that allows them to make the energy flow for their lives, right? It's sort of like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense.
And most of the time, you don't put down symptoms with your energy blocks. You think, I can tell you, I will work with people who have had accidents and I fell down the stairs or I did this. But something happened usually, oftentimes, in your energy emotionally that precipitated that accident. the accident is kind of the outcome of the kink in your energy. Not always. I mean, this isn't across the board always. This is the way it is all the time.
Right.
But a lot of times accidents will happen because of something else that happened, like the connection between my allergies and my father's death. I had no idea that was related. Most people don't. So if you don't know what you don't know, you can't fix what's possibly easy to maybe reroute.
That's interesting. So if you have a natural block or a block in your energy, you may be more prone to having an accident because you're not fully aware or fully there, in terms of the energy flow. That's interesting. Now, are there a lot of people in the business? I mean, this is a new, at least for the United States, for our culture, this is something new. It's an alternative way of looking at your health status. Do you find that there are a lot of people in the business at this time?
There are more and more. And getting the word out is one of the reasons why we do some of these things, or the health fairs or whatever, because people don't know. There are a few people in Rochester who do this other than myself. There are people across the country that do this. There are people in Europe. There are people across the world that do this.
So it really started, it has an Eastern stem, though.
Well, honestly, it started with neuro-linguistic programming, and Gary Craig, who is the founder of EFT, kind of shortened the version, tightened it up, made it easier for people to learn. And then meridian tapping and the offshoots and all the other enhancements to EFT have started happening. And things just can move quicker and more easily when you kind of hone your skills and you know what to go after, or you know what you're listening for. You just kind of get a feel for where the blocks are and what they're saying, what people are saying. You just hone your skills.
I see. So it's a neuro-linguistic approach, really.
It has its roots in that. But it's more about the energy tapping.
I see. But it's still.
And I'm not an NLP expert. I just know it had its roots there.
I see, and that's the tapping. So it's great that you kind of stumbled into this through Reiki and some other alternative strategies. So would you recommend that this is something that people should pursue? I mean, in terms of as a way, both as a way of releasing energy and moving on to have successful and healthier lives. I mean, obviously, that's kind of a question.
Well, and the thing is, you can learn to do some of this on yourself. It's when you get stuck that you call someone like me, or if it's not moving quickly enough for you. Some people, I want things to happen in the New York minute. I'm much more of an impatient than a patient type of, I want success now. I want relief now from whatever XYZ might be happening. If I'm in grief, I don't want that to last for years and decades. I don't want to hold that energy, that intense, uncomfortable energy. So it just depends on how quickly you want things to happen, how open-minded you are. It doesn't mean that if you're skeptic, this won't work, because it absolutely can, even if you're skeptic. But it's really your choice. How quickly do you want things to happen? Some people take a couple sessions, some people may take 10.
I see.
What's your health and success worth to you, and how quickly do you want to get there?
Sure. So it's really a commitment, a choice to make a commitment.
Right.
And so if you're not, if you're skeptical, then it might take a little bit longer, but otherwise you have to give it the benefit of the doubt, in the least if someone's going through a lot of pain.
And I will tap with them, even though I don't buy into this at all. I don't believe what this woman's telling me. And of course that, brings a laugh or a smile, because they're embarrassed, because I know that's what they're thinking. If you're blocked and I can't move you, there's something else going on that I have to go through the layers and get deeper.
Well, that's terrific. That's terrific. It's wonderful that you used your personal experience to try to understand and then help other people, overcome that as well.
Well, the thing is, it lets me know that it's possible. I know on a personal level what's possible. There has been a block of tragedy that I had, and I was spinning. And honestly, even I consider myself an expert. But when you are that emotionally entrenched in certain situations, as I was with a huge grief, I lost 2 people that I love very dearly within a year of each other. And it was very intense. And I was spinning. I went to someone who does what I do. Because when you're in that state, you can't see clearly. It's hard to even know where to begin. Sure. So even someone, I consider myself an expert at this. But there are times that I can't. I'm stuck here and I don't know what's holding.
Sure. You need somebody else to help you out.
And I think it's a little bit of a mixed conception, because the mechanics of it are very easy. And you can practically use the same mechanics for any situation, whether it be business, health, ailments, aches, whatever. But the verbal coaching, a lot of times, is what will get to the core a lot quicker.
That's great.
Although people can do it on themselves too.
Sure. So if people want to do a search in the internet about the process, do they do a search on tapping?
Meridian tapping,
Meridian
EFT.
tapping. Okay. And then just learn a little bit more about that. You know, it's wonderful these days.
Call me.
Oh, call you. Yeah, that's right. That's better. Absolutely. Just get to the source. Yeah, it's you know, it's interesting because the more educated people are, the more they would consider alternative ways to get better. You know, to help heal themselves.
How much do you want it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because I think that unless we're in good health, mentally and physically, it's hard to move on with our careers. I mean, there are people who go through with a lot of challenges, but it makes it easier when you have the energy flow in your body. It's easier to reach that successful level.
And those symptoms are really your body saying, hello, I'm trying to tell you something. Something's out of balance. And if you ignore that, it tends to knock it up a little higher. I'm trying to tell you something. I'm giving you a message. If you start looking at symptoms and ailments and when they started, oftentimes you'll find something that started emotionally or something emotional that was going on. Not always, but a lot of times.
It's just a matter of going back to that and understanding what that is. So.
And paying attention on a different level.
Yeah, that's great. So it sounds like you have a lot of fairs and programs coming up, and it's nice that you're getting attention from the industry, healthcare, and all that, and people looking at tapping as a way to get better.
Absolutely.
And certainly the energy release. And I've never met an energy educator before, so I think that's really great for people to be educated in the energy flow of their bodies. So.
And you had a little bit of experience with it too.
Yeah, right. We did some tapping and just kind of had some pain in my fingers, and you helped me out with that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And that's actually how we talked about this and brought you in. So I appreciate that very much. That's
and
great.
I do as well. So thank you.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for joining us in our session today, and it's about money. We talked with Joanne Jaworski, who's a success coach and energy educator. We talked about the removing blocks from energy blocks towards health and success. Joanne, thank you again for being here. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it as well. Thanks.
Until next time, I'm Nannette Nocon.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you have any questions for It's About Money, please email Nannette at nnocon@aol.com. This program was produced through Penfield Community Television in Penfield, New York.